we're trying to help people see what are these beliefs that you're carrying around and how are you actually recreating those beliefs and in a certain pattern in relationship with people, with yourself. And to do that, you have to go to the darkest places in yourself, the place that you do not want to see, the place that says, I will never show this part of myself.
Welcome to Honest Feedback, the podcast where deep truth meets bold transformation. I'm Goddess Brittney King, a pleasure priestess and a transformational retreat facilitator who helps women connect to their deepest truths, reclaim their pleasure, and awaken their inner power.
And I'm Lisset King, an emotional ninja and transformational coach who helps leaders release baggage, heal unresolved trauma, and step into their most aligned, purposeful lives.
We've created this podcast for spirit-led individuals just like you.
Seekers of truth, personal growth, and meaningful connection. Whether you're navigating life's big questions, craving more joy and fulfillment, or simply looking for honest, relatable conversations, you're in the right place.
Welcome to this week's episode of Honest Feedback. We feel so good to be back, rested from Hawaii, from our Hawaiian Energy Work School.
It was such a good workshop.
It was so good.
Yeah.
It's a workshop, it's a school, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah. So much life has happened, but I'm really excited about today's episode.
Yes.
Because speaking of life happening, we went to a workshop in Austin, Texas called Metamorphosis, and it was a workshop on sexual fantasies.
Ooh.
And we got very excited, and we very excited about this and the opportunity that we had there. And it was unlike anything we'd ever done before. It was beyond just presence. It was a lesson in being human. It was a lesson in just feeling alive. There was some wonderful aliveness. How would you sum up what you received before we get into this combo?
Sum up. For me, it was exactly what I have been seeking, I was able to find. And I had worked with a few other different practitioners and nothing was quite getting the thing. How would I say it? Nothing was quite reflecting to me what my blind spot was.
Yes.
And it's very funny. I'm trying to say from a very hot up place. When you've been on the path in a particular field for a while, it's like, well, I know quite a bit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And shocker, we all still have blind spots and we're still human.
What?
I know.
No.
I have them. And I had a blind spot and I was just like, I know how the symptoms are showing up about this, but I haven't quite found what the problem is.
Yes.
And I had brought it to a few other practitioners and I hadn't quite cracked it.
Yeah.
And this experience cracked that for me.
Yeah. I just feel like I got so much more than I bargained for, and I'm really excited to talk to them because it has been, the journey since we've been back has been kind of trying to explain it, but not really being able to explain it.
Much like our own work.
Much like our own work.
It's like, what do you guys do? Well, there's a vibe.
There's some sheepskins. You're going to be transformed.
Yeah.
We went to Austin. The view was incredible. We went deeper than we'd ever gone before, and we went into the dark crevices of our soul and came out just more connected and deeper in love.
Yeah.
So
Look at that face.
I know. It's just, what we received from it was so much more than we've been able to put into words, and we knew we had to have them on our podcast.
Yes. So the them is these two incredible facilitators, Jana and Angela, and they run a school called the Metamorphosis Core Energetics Institute, and they put on these workshops. They do something called Core Energetics. What is it that you may ask? We had no fucking idea.
We're not going to do it justice.
I'm not going to do it justice, and we didn't even know that's what it was when we signed up for it. It was a sacred invitation from a dear friend, which, by the way, you should always listen to those.
Yes.
When a dear friend says, hey, I think you should do it, just Just say yes.
Just go. Yeah.
And I had a prophetic dream. It was all the things. We said yes, and we are so grateful that we said yes. So we were like, this was so moving. We want to bring them on to share with our audience about them, about their work, about what's possible. And yeah, they can explain to you what core energetics is, because I still cannot. So
Yeah. And before we give them a call, please make sure you like, subscribe, share this with anyone that you love, anyone in your community. Keep this little podcast going.
yes. Also, I just feel so grateful that we are. I like to think of us as the scout bees.
Yeah.
We go out and we find the good nectar. We're like, this is where the pollen is. This is where the nectar is. Tell all the other bees. This is one of those episodes.
Yes.
We found some nectar. We found some pollen. We're telling the other bees where to find it. So when we don't have the answers, we have a directory of the highest frequency other practitioners. And we're so grateful to be able to share them with you.
Yeah.
Okay, let's give them a call.
Let's. Hi, Angela and Jana. So excited to have you here today.
Hi.
Hi, guys. We're excited to be here.
Yeah, nice to see you.
Yeah, we were sharing with our audience that we got to spend just the most epic, profound weekend with you. And much like it was in life, it was a little hard to explain just because it was so profound. And one of the gifts that I was given was the gift of presence. Going through that weekend, we moved through so much in our own personal lives, and it created this opening and space for us to be just more in the moment than ever before. And I would love to hear in your own words, how do you share and how do you serve in the world?
Well, okay, I can start.
Yeah.
Um, I guess I share by embodying this work that has changed my life and embodying my excitement for it. Um, and Angela and I co-run an institute that trains core energetics practitioners, which is what we are. Um, and it's delightful for me to give other people an experience of themselves, a deep experience of themselves, and in the same way that I was given that, which is the whole reason. I'll say more about that later, but I left my career and in order to pursue this work, which I was not expecting. I wasn't expecting to become a therapist, a facilitator. I was very entrenched in my screenwriting profession and had such a life-changing series of experiences in groups like the one that you both just participated in, that I felt compelled to do this all the time. And that led to my friendship with Angela, our collaboration. I do this because it's fun for me. It is enlivening for me. And if it wasn't fun for me to do this work, I wouldn't do it. So yeah, that's a start.
Love it. And Angela, how about you?
Can you ask the question again?
Yes, of course. So, how do you serve in the world? Tell us a little bit about how you perhaps got into core energetics, or what inspires you to serve this as your medicine?
Okay. Well, let's see. I first was introduced to it when my husband and I were looking for a couples therapist, and we really needed to, there was something deep that we were going through and something difficult. And we had gone through a number of couples therapists, and I wasn't new to therapy, but my husband was. And so he was a little more particular. And so we went, to different people. And then somebody suggested this woman, Anne Bradney. And we went to a session with her. And when we finished, my husband said, "You're not the kind of therapist that just gets people to neutral. you're the kind of therapist that wants to take them to their potential. And I was like, whoa, that felt true and that felt right. And that began my journey in core energetics. I didn't know anything about anything. I didn't really care what that even meant. I just knew that this was helping me. And so I went into Anne's group and started doing that work for a little while. And then, but at the same time, I was acting, I was singing. My life was like, I wanted to be on Broadway. I wanted to, like, be famous, and I wanted to sing and act and do all those things. And so I did, and I made it to Broadway. And I was like living my dream. And it was uh it was awesome. And I was in this Tony Award winning musical on Broadway. I did the national tour. I was in Vegas, the whole thing. And then, after, like, actually pretty shortly after my Broadway debut, I went into a deep depression. And I didn't understand why. But, after, many years, I understood that, I was basically, my whole childhood was like, this is what I'm going to do, and this is how I'm going to get out of the fucked up environment that I was in.
Yeah.
What I thought was fucked up, and I thought it was going to solve everything, and it didn't. And so then, going into this work, it was, I mean, I did a lot of other kinds of healing, things, but going into this work was really what kind of catalyzed, I had a hope, like, oh my God, I'm going to not just get out of this, but I'm going to fulfill my potential in some way, like it was what my husband said. And so when we were moving, we were in New York at the time. And then my our therapist, and she called me, and she was starting up a school for core energetics. She called it Radical Aliveness, and she was going to be moving to LA, and we were going to be moving to LA at the same time. But she called to say, I was thinking about you because I'm starting the school, and I have a feeling like you would be really great at this. And I was like, no, there is no way I'm ever going to become a therapist. That's never, ever, ever going to happen. But that was so nice. She's amazing. She's like the top, like a master facilitator. But, and so I was so, touched and felt like, like, wow, it's something special that she was inviting me to come to the school. And so at the end of the conversation, I was just like, thank you so much, Anne, but, this isn't really my thing, but I appreciate you inviting me. She's like, okay, well, it's not, just so you know, it's not really about becoming a practitioner. It's more about um, stepping into your greatness. She said something like that. That was like, music to my ears. And I was like, okay, stepping into my greatness. Okay. She was like, well, just feel into it. If you feel a yes anywhere, then, let me know. And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll let you know. Hung up thinking that's never happening. And then it was either that night or that week, I can't remember. I had a dream, and I dreamt that I was in a group. She was facilitating. I was in a back bend, and she was shaking something out of me, and my head popped open and something fell out, and I stood up, and I was like, oh my God, I'm free. And in the dream, I thought, oh, I want to know how to do this for other people.
Wow.
And I woke up and I was like, oh my God, I think I'm going to that school. And so I called her and I was like, I didn't know what it was, I just signed up and I was like, I'm following my dream and this is what it is. And the first module, my husband and I were literally driving from New York to LA. So I missed that module. But then I went for the next 4 years, 1 year at a time. I was like, I can only commit for 1 year. That's it,
Yeah.
And then at the end of 4 years, I became a practitioner. I had my own practice. I I quit acting because my heart was no longer in it. I still sang, but it was like, this is what I wanted to do. And then the passion for it just grew and grew and grew. My life like completely transformed, many times over. And at one point I met Jana, and she said to me, which actually we were doing a workshop together, and she had this flyer out, and it was this flyer for a 1-year program that she was starting in this work. And I looked at it and I thought, oh my God, that flyer is so beautiful, I and I felt this sense of jealousy that
Mhm.
I was like, I want to be doing something like this.
Yeah.
But what was so weird was that I had told everyone, people were like, oh, Angela, you should be a teacher. You should do a program. And I was like, no, I definitely do not want to do that. And then when I saw her flyer, I was like, why do I feel jealous? I
Mhm.
didn't say anything to Jana about it. I just said, your flyer is beautiful. And she was like, yeah, I'm thinking about starting this program. I don't know if I'm going to do it or not. And then the next week she called me. She's like, hey, would you want to do this with me? And I was like, yes, yes, I would.
Yeah.
And we started and we did this 1-year program. And then that led to then people asked us for a second year. And then people asked us for a third year. And pretty soon we had a school. And so that's, we have this 4-year program now. And that's, I don't know how, there's a lot of other details, but I'm here now. And, the work that we do, I think is transformational, and it's profound, and it's deep, and it's hard, and but it's ultimately incredibly liberating. And what we're doing is we're helping people become conscious of the places that they're unconscious of. And it, allows for people to get out of patterns in the ways that they've been stuck for, sometimes decades. So that's me for right now.
Yes. Oh, that's so good. I resonate with so many synchronicities between all of us. The stories, the dreams. I'm like, oh, is core energetics partially dream work? Because as I shared with you guys, a dream is what led me to say the definite yes to your invitation. I had a dream of like getting a random amount of money. And then the next day, a dear friend, Libby, shared, like, hey, you should come to this thing. And it was the exact amount of money that I was tipped in this dream. And I was just like, all right, spirit, heard, definitely
Wow.
going. I don't know what it is. Like, well, we hadn't even heard the words core energetics. And I felt the resonance of that deep transformation space. And the aliveness of what I felt like, which you also shared, Jana, was like there's a part of your story where it's like I was living my path. I was doing what I thought I should do. Angela, I wanted to be on Broadway. I thought this would be my escape. I wanted to be an actor. Women are safe in their bodies and on acting screens. This is what I thought. So this is what I want to do. And then somewhere along the path, spirit goes, we're going to take you in a different direction because the thing that you actually want is somewhere else. And it's in this space of transformation. It's in this space of alchemy. It's in this space of self discovery to start to understand who you truly are.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
One of the things I loved about even your story and what you empowered me to do in the workshop was you said I felt jealousy, so you leaned into it. And that's something that in a lot of modalities or even just in our culture, when you feel a feeling you don't want to feel, it's just like shove it down, let's not talk about it, let's not
Mm-hmm.
look at it. And in the workshop, we went to, just to give a little bit of backstory, we went to a sexual fantasy workshop called Metamorphosis. And we're like, I was just like, yeah, sounds great. Let's go. And there was no way we could expect that weekend in any way, shape, or form. It was so beyond anything that I could dream of, fathom. And the work that was done in that room it was following for me the dark and scary places I've been avoiding for so long and
Mm-hmm.
leaning into it and finding the magic and finding the medicine in it. And it truly did feel like medicine. So, one of the things I want to just acknowledge and admire about you is you both, as facilitators, fully feel your emotions and you are in the experience with us. Like you're these prolific facilitators and space holders, and yet I could see you having your own experience, and that's something that I had not experienced myself in the past from other facilitators. Can you speak a little more into how that is and the following, say the jealousy or the anger or the darkness, like how is it that you find the light in those places?
Mhm.
Angela.
Okay. Well, first of all, I thank you so much for what you just said, because that feels true. And also, what was modeled to us in terms of like the facilitation that we saw that I had never seen before, that a facilitator was human, like they had their own flaws. The teachers that we had revealed themselves to us, and that was so new and so like not at all what I experienced in my childhood or with any of my teachers. Like teachers are supposed to be, they're supposed to be something, and what our teachers did was embody their humanity, and they made mistakes and they got mad and they cried and they had there were human emotions, but they also took responsibility for them. Like I didn't have to take care of them in any way. It was just, they were just, feeling, being human beings. And so that was something that was incredibly attractive to me, as someone who was learning this thing. Um, in terms of like the shadow, that's kind of the big part of our work. What I was saying about becoming conscious of the unconscious. It's like, let's say I'm just giving a very specific example, but let's say you're somebody you like for example, like I wanted to teach with Jana. I was jealous, in this place. And there could be, as you said, there could be a part of me that would have hidden that jealousy and that would have hidden it from myself.
Yeah.
And to not let myself know what I want because maybe I have a belief somewhere inside of me that says I don't get to have what I want. And which I do, like that was a very strong, what we call an image, a faulty conclusion that I concluded from my childhood based on the experience that I had. And so, to un to dig up these images, these beliefs that we have that we carry around that literally play out in our life, constantly that we are not aware of. This is essentially the work that we're trying to help people do. We're trying to help people see what are these beliefs that you're carrying around and how are you actually recreating those beliefs and in a certain pattern in relationship with people, with yourself. And to do that, you have to go to the darkest places in yourself, the place that you do not want to see, the place that says, I will never show this part of myself. And I think that that's what you guys both experienced on some level, to see some places about yourself that maybe you even judged about yourself. Like, I'm not going to show this. I'm not going to know this about myself because this is a bad part of me. This is a part of me that, like nobody's going to like. I'm going to get rejected. I'm going to get abandoned. I'm going to get shamed. I'm like, if this really comes out, this is going to be, I'm going to be banished for life.
Yeah.
But the truth is that, in this work, we welcome these parts of ourselves. And there's so much energy that goes into these places we're not even conscious of. So for example, like, in the place where I don't get to have what I want, in that moment of jealousy, if I didn't let myself know that I was jealous, if Jana had asked me, I might have been like, no, I don't teach, I wouldn't have
Mhm.
even known something about myself.
Yeah.
And so we want to, it's like the places where we're angry, like it's like, you know, like maybe you have deep rage about something. Well, maybe the rage is there, in the place where you're trying to hide it because you think that rage is bad, because maybe your mom or dad, express rage in a way that was unhealthy for you. And so you made a promise, I'm never going to show that to anyone.
Mhm.
But maybe the rage you need, like, is needed in order to set healthy boundaries with
Yeah.
people. You know, like you're mad that all these things are happening to you and you're not letting anyone know. And so it's like I'm giving examples, but
Yeah.
because this work is so hard to describe it, but the way that we do it, you know, we do it through the body. And so, you know, you come to a workshop and you see we have this big foam cube and this bataka and or tennis racket and, you know, punching bag and punching gloves and a mattress. And, you know, we're getting people to hit and to move their bodies and to sit, you know, express themselves in
Mhm.
ways that they've never expressed themselves before. And it's like, whoa, that's in there. Okay,
Mhm. Mhm.
let me face this, let me deal with this thing, and let me see what the actual response is to this place in me.
Mhm.
Is it that people are actually going to be judging me or leaving me, or
Mhm.
and, and maybe it is, but then you see you can live through that.
Yeah.
But a lot of times that's not what it is. A lot of times people come closer because they feel more connected to you're bringing out a true part of yourself.
Mhm.
And it's like, good, I'm like this too, you know?
Mhm.
And so, yeah. Jana, did you want to add anything?
No, I think you're doing so great at explaining. Yeah, I mean, you said you came to a sexual fantasy workshop, and I
Mhm.
can imagine how that sounds. Sounds like it's going to be really fun and sexy.
Yeah.
And no, no, it's so painful and terrifying. And Angela, I just think you're doing a really good job of breaking down how we get to the root of what we all defend against in different ways.
Yeah.
Um, and it's hard to get to that place because you've built a life that confirms that revealing those places isn't going to get you anything. So you do need help. You need to be guided to have a new experience of yourself by people who have gone there and
Mhm.
can hold you in that,
Mhm.
but also can be real people while they're holding you in that.
Mhm.
Um, and that's the realness or the humanity that you were talking about being impacted by, I think.
Mm.
Yeah, it's so powerful. And we're all practitioners, and humans, but it's like I have a feeling, let me just run away. And
Uh-huh.
like the self-abandonment and how many of us are running a program, creating our life to avoid feeling one specific thing.
Hmm.
And the power of being held in a space where you feel safe enough to feel it and come to the other side where you realize, wow, that did not kill me.
Hmm.
That did not kill. I did not die because I felt.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's revolutionary because so much of our world, I mean, so much of my upbringing was like, oh, don't feel that, don't say that.
Hmm.
Just shove it down, just hold it tight. And if you are just likable enough in the ways that, 8.7 billion people think that you specifically should be likable, you'll be great. And I felt so long living my life so disassociated, so disconnected from myself because I was running these patterns and afraid to feel, afraid to let people know the truth of who I am.
Mhm, mhm.
I'm just curious. I know this is your podcast,
Yeah.
but I'm
Get in
curious,
there.
Get
Brittany,
him.
like, are you feeling something right now?
Yeah.
When you,
I'm feeling awe.
mm,
I'm feeling like when you don't know what you don't know. You don't know what you don't know. And as someone who has been in the space of a lot of different modalities, where I'm like, we can hit it this way, we can hit it this way. Something about your space felt so deeply unlocking for me as someone who works in embodiment and has spent a lot of time working to not be in a space of disassociation, to reach more truth of myself, of all the places where I have left or continue to leave. Um, and having this awareness in myself now that's just really in the front. Um, it feels really emotional and liberating and also like still a bit scary. And that awareness of like, I'm not gonna die
Mm,
by letting
Yeah.
people know me.
Mhm.
And the depth around being a facilitator that's human, it just gives me permission to be more human myself.
Mhm.
Because I mean, even my mother is a very famous teacher, professional
Mhm.
teacher. And all the guides I've had of mentorship teachers where it's just this pedestal-y thing, whether they're doing it for themselves or it's just the dynamic. And to hear you at one point in our experience, Jana, share that, hey, I made a micro mistake and share that with the group. And just that freedom that everyone felt of like, oh God, she's human.
Yeah.
She's human and she's saying she can make a mistake. And that means I can make a mistake too. And like, we're gonna live through this. We're gonna live through this, child of a narcissist. Like, it's just yeah, I'm feeling a lot, even just being in your presence and recounting our time because it just felt so profound. And I personally have been seeking other space holders who have big enough space to hold me for where I am on my journey. And so I also feel just like a rain of gratitude and blessings of like, I found people who could hold this space.
mm.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I asked it was because I could feel you as you were speaking, and I mean, I'm crying right now, but
Mhm.
and so I really appreciate you sharing so honestly. And it's like you being embodied, I can feel you here, and feeling helps me to connect to you.
Yeah.
I feel connected and I feel connected to myself. And that this is kind of, this is what we're doing, we want to like, we're, we want to know how to not betray ourselves in
Mhm.
order to be in connection. We,
Mhm.
to be true to ourselves. And I just feel like you just did that, in a way like that was so beautiful. So thank you.
Mm.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It
Mm.
touches you, Angela.
Yeah, it really touches me. It touches me. Like when, whenever I see somebody who's really like it, like with themselves in the truth of their feelings, it's like that is I mean, I think it's a deeply connecting force.
Yeah.
And it's also scary for people,
Yeah.
and this is kind of the space that we want to hold for people is like, it is scary. We know, we get it. It's scary for us too, um, it's scary for us to, be on a podcast and reveal ourselves even, it's like,
Yeah.
like to really to share like what we're passionate about, what we love, how we feel, all of these things. It's vulnerable, but and if you're someone who has been um I don't know, like somebody who has been criticized or is like there's been some kind of negative reaction to that, you're going to want to protect it,
Mhm.
and I think that I am somebody who, I mean, I have one of my biggest fears is a fear of judgment, so it's like uh, to share, like to really expose myself in any way, like in an honest way,
Yeah.
is there's a risk involved in some young part of myself. The truth is that when I do, I mean, again, it's like what I was saying, it's like, oh, there's more connection here,
Yeah.
but there's also, even if there's connection in a negative way, now I can hold that. Now,
Mhm.
if you don't like what I say, you can say that to me and
Mhm.
we can still be in connection.
Yeah.
But that's not easy, like, to like hold on to myself in that place. Like, this is what we're trying to do for ourselves and what we're trying to train people to do
Yeah.
for themselves and for other people, with other, with their clients or with their people they work with, or, I think that this skill is becoming increasingly important, in the
Mm.
world, not just in therapy rooms, but in businesses, in, organizations. It's like, to be able to, for the leaders to be able to hold people, like, and to stay in connection in a way that honors the individual, like who they are, like, and while honoring who you are, like, that's, I don't know. I think it's becoming more and more important, given the world that we're in. You know what I mean?
I feel it. We are in the journey to becoming parents, and
Mm.
we feel that our son sent us to your experience. Um, from this place of like, a lot of us hold wounds from childhood.
Mhm.
I reached out, I shared myself, and my caretaker, the one on the pedestal, the one I thought was God, showed up in some way that I took to be abandonment, rejection, negative, all
Yeah.
these different things. And I feel like, and honestly, I'm not a parent yet, but I'm like, I feel like it's the ultimate space holder position. Like you're holding space for a soul as they're exploring, and to be able to hold that space of presence and connection and
Mhm.
allowing and humanity and I'm flawed and we're okay,
Mhm.
and to allow yourself to keep being able to connect. Like, I'm thanks for such an incredible parenthood, baby shower gift. Like, from the universe. I'm just like, wow, God, we're just so spoiled. I love it. Thank you.
Oh.
Yeah.
Mm. That's
Yeah.
amazing.
I would love to speak into, it's hard to describe what happened in that room, and confidentiality, obviously, I can share from my experience. One of the places I was able to touch was my rage.
Mhm.
And in touching my rage, this thing that I've always been like, manage it, put it away, release it, do the work to not engage with it because it's so destructive, or I've seen it be so destructive. And one of the gifts I can say from coming out of it was how much Brady looked at me and she goes, "Do you just want to be a little more savage?" And I was like, "Yeah, I think I do."
Mhm.
I think I just want to be okay just being a little more savage and not being around people that I don't like being around, and honoring that boundary that is natural instead of needing to like everyone, like I can hold this boundary of where I am in my development, and the ability we've had to express upset since we've been with you has been beyond
Wow.
just yeah, we couldn't and I'll reveal
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, so we're like, well, this is me, sexual fantasy workshop, let's go. And I really, the day we started the process of processing everyone, the first thing I said is, I don't want to go first because I want to see how this goes. So of course, naturally, we went first.
Huh?
And what needed to come through was us fighting,
Mhm.
and us and you had asked us if we ever fight. And I remember having this like, we have tools. We have, oh no, of course, no, we don't fight. Like, and yet needing to fight
Mhm.
and needing to express and needing to express the upset and moving through it and letting my rage out and letting my rage make her feel fear, and having like her, watching her be upset and not making it about me. For the longest time, I've come from this place of do your work, do your work, do your work, do your work. And what I learned that weekend was the ability to truly co regulate,
Mhm.
and that we can both be upset and love each other through it. And I could be loved in my rage, and she could be loved in her dissociation. And
Mhm.
we can step aside and go, I'm upset. I'm upset that you didn't finish the dishes.
That happened yesterday.
That happened yesterday. I'm upset that I asked you to do the dishes and you didn't do the dishes. And I'm like, okay, all right. I'm upset that you asked me to make dinner while I was folding your laundry.
Mhm.
We got to have this like truly co-regulating experience. And I got to be in fear of, well, man, there's going to be consistently a third person around. And it is very challenging to have a date. Right now, we
Mm.
have our niece in town, and bless her, she's the absolute like joy of my life. At this moment in time, she's been the closest thing I've had to having a child. And it's a third body in the house. And I get a little shy around intimacy when she's around, and she's like, I miss intimacy. And I was like, oh my God, we're getting the preview of what it's like to have a child around. And she's like, it's okay. And we'll regulate when we're there together. So, and that's the gift you gave us. And it's really profound.
Oh.
Oh,
I want to say to you, Lisette, that I have a real strong memory of that moment,
Yeah.
and that of you being willing to get angry, to reveal that. It's so vulnerable
Yeah.
for a couple. You made it
mhm.
safer for the whole group.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys realize that, but that you going first and revealing, being willing to get in conflict in front of a bunch of strangers when conflict is such a
Mhm.
vulnerable thing, it
Uh,
really set the stage for how deep we went that weekend.
Mhm.
yeah.
And, you know, there's a sharpness in you, Lisette, that I recognize
Savage.
because I have it too, exactly. And that is good, that is your love, actually, that is very direct, and that is there's some things you said that came out like this, and and I guess I'm just delighted to hear that you guys are like that you're letting yourselves be in more conflict. It's very intimate.
Yeah.
Um, and we can say do your work means I'm peaceful, like I
Yeah.
handle all my stuff internally. That is avoidance of your work.
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
which is to reveal yourself honestly and let it be messy and work through things with someone else, which can be difficult when all that we saw in aggression growing up was destruction
Yeah.
and, terrorizing disconnection. Um, so yeah, I just wanted to say it had an effect on me
Yeah.
Me
watching you
too.
guys. I mean, I also like Angela. I'll just say, I was a screenwriter and I was a showrunner, and I came to this work because I had to write a season of a show I'd created that was about therapy, group therapy, and I'd never been to therapy before. And my first workshop with Anne Bradney with my husband.
Mm.
Um, so my first group experience was of this kind of work, like you guys, was the two of us together, um, and we did it. We ended up doing it many times together, and he went and to Anne's program, and I went and studied in the New York program. Both our lives and our marriage completely changed as a result of this work. I left my career and became a full-time core energetics practitioner. Um, but we would collude in groups to not reveal the thing,
Yeah.
you know? A couple is like a subgroup within a group,
Yeah.
and we had a mask of our relationship that
Mhm.
we would be in, and we would trick the whole group into falling for it.
Yeah.
Some version of I'm the bitch and he's the victim of my, you know,
Itchiness.
bitchiness or whatever. And that was a safer place for us to be in and for us to reveal to the group than to get to what was really going on.
Yeah.
So I just want to acknowledge again, like how brave you guys were.
Mm. Mm. I love it's
I
like a
wasn't
mini
that I
session.
wasn't that brave. My
Mhm.
We're always where we need to be, and the path's always unfolding perfectly
Yeah.
because however you were, it led to you being here. And you're a fucking badass. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one thing I want to express is how deeply I feel your love in that space. Like, truly, the fact that you showed up as such authentic, embodied humans when you spoke, it was so easy to believe everything, like to drop into trust, and sometimes not feel trust, and you're like, it's okay that you don't feel trust right now. And the fullness of having it was one weekend to feel all the human experiences.
Mm, mm,
Much like medicine.
Much like medicine, truly. The other one of the other deepest experiences I've had in that is psychedelic medicine.
oh,
Except the characters are all happening in my mind. But to interact and co-play and co-regulate in a room full of humans being humans was beyond. And I'm just so grateful for the work that you do. Never knew it existed, which is why we're like, can you be on our podcast so other people can know that you exist?
would it be helpful? Like, I mean, I'm aware that, maybe we should talk a little bit about like kind of how the structure of it is, like we're speaking in very kind of general terms, but
Absolutely.
like the weekend when we're talking about this kind of workshop, like it's a Friday night, all day Saturday, all day Sunday. But the Friday night, we're doing an introduction. Um, we're talking about this work. We're kind of setting the stage, but we're ultimately, because you guys, a lot of the people who come, they've never met us. So ultimately, what we're trying to do is we're trying to develop some trust with
Mhm.
us
Mhm.
because we know that what we're going to be asking from you guys is to bring yourselves, and to not hold back and to follow your impulses and to allow yourselves to feel things that you've maybe never felt before.
Mhm.
Um and so in order to do that, we have to demonstrate in some way pretty quickly that we've got it,
Mhm.
and so we do some like little group exercises, but really like kind of to develop the trust between each other and the members of the group and with us. And then the following day, the Saturday, we come in, we might do another exercise, that kind of helps people to go deeper, maybe a little teaching about core energetics, about this work, about what it means, the mask, the lower self, the higher self. And then the kind of the bulk, the main stage of our work is the process work. And we do that. It's all afternoon on that Saturday. And that's the place where we're asking people. And this is what's very difficult to describe when if
Yeah.
you've not done this work, if you've not seen it in some way. It just sounds like even after I say whatever I'm going to say, people are going to be like, huh? What does that mean? Don't hold back and follow your impulses. And, but what we're, like somebody might, what we're asking is like somebody who has a feeling inside of them or wants to go first and doesn't even know what that means, like, which is kind of what you guys did. You're like, okay, I'll go first. What does that mean? And to see like what's there, like, because there's always something that's going on inside of ourselves. We don't know, you know, like there's so much that's hidden, but usually something in the group will emerge. Somebody will come forward and it'll be like, okay, I have a feeling, or I don't like this, or I'm excited, or something's going on with my kid right now and I just really need to share. Like what it could be, so many things, but somebody comes forward and then we start to work with them and we start to like slowly draw out like what's going on. And as we're doing this, we're asking the group to be present, like really present. And if they're not present, to say that they're not present or to name like what's happening inside them. Right now, I feel really angry. Right now, I want to leave. Right now, I feel like I want to just lay down, like, whatever it is, we ask people to stand where they want to stand, sit where they want to sit, like to feel free in their bodies, but to stay present to the process. Because what is happening is happening, whoever is working, working, I'm saying quotes, what's coming up for the rest of the group, you're also working. You're also, there's there are feelings that are coming up inside of you, or not. Maybe you're numb, but whatever that is, that's what you're working with in yourself. And the more that that can come in, a lot of times what happens is that the person who's working, if people are saying, oh, I don't feel present right now, or I'm feeling really angry right now, these become kind of parts of the person, like, oh, yeah, there's a part of me that doesn't want to be here right now. There's a part of me that's really angry. There's a part of me that, it's like there's all these different parts that are starting to emerge. And then how do we get that to coalesce? Like, how do we get them to connect with each other? Or what's actually happening in this dynamic? What's here? We want to welcome all of it. And so in that process, clarity emerges, like something comes from that place. And we get people to, like I said, maybe we get people to move their bodies in a way like that expresses feelings that don't get expressed. We get them on the mattress and kicking and hitting, or get them to hit the cube, or punching bag, or even just stand there across from somebody and just make eye contact. It can be very simple. It can be very soft, or maybe we play a song or something, maybe somebody holds somebody. It's,
Endless.
yeah, it's like there's so many different ways that it can go, but what we're looking for is the truth, of what's inside of you. And are you willing to risk speaking that or expressing that in some way, and seeing what happens as a result? And then usually some kind of deeper connection emerges. And if not, maybe sometimes it's like more chaos or confusion or upsetness happens. That's usually a lot of times what happens on the Saturday night. People go back and they're like totally disturbed, or it's like, whoa, what just happened? And then they come back on Sunday, and there's more of that processing that happens, like, okay, now let's go deeper. Even in this particular workshop, we had a focus on sexual fantasy, and we asked people to share about their sexual fantasies if they wanted to. And what we want to show people is that what you think your sexual fantasy means is not what it means, no matter how dark. I like the word that Jana uses, depraved. That it, that how much we judge our fantasies, and we think, this means, this and this. It's not, and people inevitably are kind of shocked, by what it actually is bringing up, because it has something to do with your deep unmet childhood wound or need. And that's what we're, trying to get to. And, that can bring up a lot for people, which it did, So, yeah, Jenna.
Yeah, I just want to go back, if I can, to something, because you're trying to explain the unexplainable thing about the group. Um, and I want to get to the sexual fantasy part, but for me, like Angela's talking about the constellation that emerges. And the only way to get to that constellation is if people take risks. And that's our biggest challenge as facilitators, is how do we get this group of strangers to start actually taking risks? And in, groups with people, this was a fairly there wasn't like a whole group of people that had done it before many times, but
Mhm.
in groups where people have done it before many times and they understand the mechanism of how it works, which is take a risk, bring yourself, trust it. You want to move away from someone, move away. You want to move towards. Like you don't understand why you're feeling this thing, risk bringing it out. And what can happen is something very dynamic where, everybody's working simultaneously and the group field gets really activated and everybody's getting what they need. And it's very enlivening and it's very exciting. And you're part of um, this really wild ride experience, which we had together several times over the course of that weekend. And it builds on itself. Whereas you take risks and you see where it goes, you feel empowered to take more risks. But
Mhm.
that is, we have to risk first as facilitators. We have to reveal ourselves in some way. Um, and that's what we're always behind the scenes kind of grappling with. How do we make it safe for you guys to come out more in places where you don't come out, you don't want to come out, you don't have experience coming out, And we're
Mhm.
saying, no, no, follow your impulse, There's only three rules. You can't hurt yourself physically, you can't hurt the room physically, and you can't hurt anybody else physically, but you can do anything else. It's like, anything? Anything? What do
Yeah.
you guys mean? What does that mean? You know,
Yeah.
like why aren't I bringing out my journal and like talk like, we're trying to get people out of their heads and
Yeah.
into a experience of disorientation where they're out of control.
Mhm.
Um, and the woman Anne Bradney, who was both of our first introduction to this work, is like beyond a genius at
Mhm.
this. And yeah, that's just like a little behind the scenes peek at, you guys are having a how is this happening experience, and
Yeah.
we are just continuously supporting more risk, more risk, more risk, so
And
that yeah, the thing can get as big as it wants to.
Yeah.
and what we are hoping is that you'll take that out into your lives, which it
Mhm.
sounds like you guys have, like, and that's why it's so moving for me to hear you guys are fighting now. Like, it's like, that is so awesome, that you're now willing to bring out your truth and be in conflict in
Yeah.
order to come into deeper connection. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's essentially what this is. It's a microcosm of
Mhm.
the world. It's like you want to build, you want to you want to be able to take risks in your lives.
Yeah.
We don't want to be, I mean, I think at the deepest level, we don't want to be stuck in our fears.
Mhm.
You know, we want to take the risks and see what happens.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, and we call it metamorphosis, which is like very on the nose name.
Mhm. Yeah.
But that is what, like, you can see Angela gets excited to hear that you guys are fighting now,
Yeah.
because this is our joy. This is one reason we're doing this. Um, our work with the school that we run is so gratifying because of the level of transformation that we get to witness, right? You guys did one weekend.
Mhm.
When you're in a container, in a community, and you're getting it like through your mind, you're learning the material, you're doing the homework, you're in these huge, insane process groups, you're
Mhm.
in classes. We get to witness people change very rapidly, and it's incredibly touching.
Yeah.
It's like Angela starts crying just listening to you, Brittany, and I think that's why I do this, because I mean, screenwriting and TV, there's always a way I was drawn to the drama of life, like, and you can, a lot of us, we experience, the deepest emotions watching television,
Yeah.
watching a movie. You let yourself feel things you wouldn't normally feel through the
Mhm.
TV.
Mhm.
And I started off kind of providing that experience for people. And then I went into Anne's workshop and was like, I'm in the movie.
Yes.
I feel like I'm in the most intense, exciting movie, but I'm not going to die. Like,
Yeah.
actually, I'm not at risk, but I'm feeling the level of intensity and excitement that I'm only used to feeling from watching television. And wait, this could be my life. This could be
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
my life.
Mm-hmm.
So, like Angela, it took me a while to be willing to leave my very successful screenwriting career. But ultimately, like, what's more? Like, there's just nothing more fun than that, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Vulnerable question for you guys, if you're open to sharing. What are the gifts, the light that have transformed your life and how you feel and how you show up through this work, through this process? Like, how has it transformed your life?
I mean, a really big thing in my life is my relationship with Angela,
Mm-hmm.
you know? Like I was always maybe I kept myself probably at a certain distance from my friends. I was the giver. I was the one who people came to for advice. I didn't really reveal my own needs or let myself be given to in a way. I stayed on top in my relationships. And I have a memory of early in our friendship, before we worked together or anything, um, like feeling like I couldn't be on the top with her, you know, and freaking out because I sure as hell wasn't going on the bottom. And not knowing an experience really of equality in friendship, and kind of feeling that disorientation, the intense vulnerability of this being friends with someone who could give to me as much as I could give to her, and how good that felt, you know? Like, just imagine what it's like to have Angela as your best friend. Like the level of help and
Yeah.
support that I'm getting all the time. It's
Yeah.
insane,
Mhm.
So, and I think in that moment, I really wanted, like, I felt such a longing for that level of support. But the question was I going to let it in? Um, and yeah, I mean, this friendship has has changed my life. Um, our working relationship, like there's a lot that we have to go through with each other in terms of conflict, in the running of our school and in just working through things in our relationship so that we can hold things for our students and for the community that we're supporting. And that has been very challenging, and very growthful. And we trigger each other or have transference with each other in very specific places, that some things, like, we get more consciousness around them and they get lighter. But it's scary. I mean, at least for me still, to be in conflict with Angela, because I love her so much, and
Mhm.
because the relationship is so important to me, that there's a real feeling of like, in a young place in me, of danger, um, that I superimpose onto the relationship, a projection of like of losing her, a fear of losing connection with her. And even though I do this work all the time and I teach it, and you know, I, like, it's good. It's like the humility of like I still have lots of places where I struggle, to be in reality.
Um, I want to answer this question, but I have to, like, my mind is I want to also go back to something,
Yeah.
just be for the listeners.
Yeah.
Um, because I don't want people to think that I am just like excited that you guys are fighting, because I feel like that's, it's like that's not the
Yeah.
point,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
that, there are certain couples who like they need to fight more. And
Yeah.
then there are other couples that need to
Fight less.
contain more. Yeah.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so it's like, we're like, I just want to be clear, like that's
Yeah.
not the point. It could
Mhm.
sound like there's a way in which it can sound that way. But so I just wanted to clear that.
Can I add to that really
Yeah.
quickly before
Mhm.
so also, yes, we have been fighting more, which is fantastic, just from this place of authenticity.
Mhm.
And obviously we're not beating a giant cube. It's actually just taking the risk of sharing where we are.
Mm.
And to add to the something I wanted to add to it was, while we did not get to process our sexual fantasy, we got to explore in a way afterwards, now that we understood the the concept of sexual fantasy and like knowing that that's our unmet childhood need, we both started taking risks there.
Mhm.
And that opened up something beyond that, probably needs its own podcast just to talk about.
Wow.
Well,
Lots of great
Yeah.
sex for for listeners who are curious.
yes. Yeah, like unbelievable,
Yeah.
next level. I mean, we've been together for 7 years and we had the best sex of our lives like since that weekend.
Hmm.
Wow.
So that I wanted to add that as well. It's not that you're gonna just fight more if you need that. It's just like we got to the place we wanted to go through the most unexpected route.
Uh-huh.
Mm.
So I wanted to
Mhm.
share that
Yeah.
as well.
And ain't that true about the universe?
Yeah.
Wow. Beautiful.
Well,
Um,
suppressed aggression will negatively affect your sex life.
mhm. Mhm.
Yeah. I mean, that also is a whole other teaching podcast, whatever, but
Mhm.
We can
it's
do this.
just that
Yeah.
has
You got
been
sign up for their workshops, y'all.
But just to answer your question, which is a really great question, Brittany, and when you said it might be vulnerable, it's like, oh yeah, like what Jana just shared is vulnerable. I know that that's vulnerable for her, and I really thank you, Jana. Um, yeah, I guess, um, you know, I'm I have a hard time like answering this, because it's like the level, like how many things I could share is just, it's too much. Um, but maybe to just kind of keep it what Jana was saying. It's like most of my closest friends now are people who have done this work. And so that just that alone is obviously like a huge, shift. And what I talk about on a daily basis, I mean, this is Jana and I speak almost every day. And we speak, and what we're speaking about, and we can get into minor or major conflicts, and to work through the things that we're working through, because what we want to do is we want to embody the teachings, what we're teaching. And so it's like we're in conflict, and it can be heated, and meanwhile we're also having an observer self somewhere that's like, oh, look, here's my defense. Here's where I want to hide from you. Here's where I want to get really aggressive with you. And we're doing it. We actually, we've talked about like, God, it would be so great if we could have some of these conflicts on a podcast, but
Yeah.
like to hear the process that we go through, like being able to have that is, it's just an incredible gift, and it allows me to transform almost on a daily basis. So it's not just like um I'm doing one process, or I'm in a session with my practitioner, and then that's it. It's like it's it's like a it's a it's a daily work, it's a daily practice in a way, like the transformation that's happening. It's like what I'm trying to work with is to let go of the judgment that I have about myself at all, and in this process. And what Jana, in my relationship with her, what she does for me is she helps me to be the most human person that I can be, like she relishes in my humanity, in the mistakes I made. Today, she was like, I hope for this next year that you make so many mistakes. And I'm like, I have to, I've had to work on the conditioning I've had to be perfect. I grew up in a very rigid household, and I mean, I'm Chinese American, but the Chinese culture is like, you gotta be kind of perfect, and do it well, and not show your weaknesses. And so, a lot of that has had to get undone for me, and to see what's underneath. And underneath is a very human, very flawed person, who is working through her shit every day, while also being this practitioner, this facilitator, person who can hold, big things. But yeah, that's the part that I have that I'm working on. And to the transformation for me is to really relish it in myself, my humanness. And I am starting to, and it's like the most relaxing place, because it means like I don't have to be something in order to be this practitioner. I can just be myself.
Oh, yeah, that's such a great gift. All of us getting to be ourselves. Wow.
Yeah, exactly.
This has just been such a beautiful, beautiful conversation. And we would love for people to know how they can find you, how they can work with you. Like there's workshops, there's a school. If you're in the school, are you being a practitioner, or can you just go to the school if you're like, I want to experience it? Tell people
Yeah,
how.
I'll tell people. So, the first year is a personal transformation year. So you just commit to 1 year. It's year by year, but there's no practitioner training requirement in the first year. Our first module is coming up in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks.
What's the
The
specific date?
the last weekend of October.
Great.
So the specific date is, Angela, do you have it?
October 30th,
To October 30th to
November 2nd.
October 30th to November 2nd. And it's 5 modules a year in person, plus integration calls, plus homework, plus we're going to give you huge education and experience in that first year. And if people are serious about wanting to transform and wanting to be part of a group of people who are also serious about that, then we would welcome them to come.
We'll welcome
We
them
do,
to schedule an interview with us.
right, we'd welcome.
Yeah.
So something about our school is, we screen people, because if you do come, you're going to be part of a group of people where it's appropriate for everybody in the group, because the work isn't just like anything. It's not right for everybody.
Yeah.
Um, so you do have to apply, and then we make sure it's a good fit on both sides. We don't have any workshops planned right now. We'll probably do some in the new year, 1 or 2 in the new year. But you know, if you're really excited by this, call us about coming to the program, because that's the place where you're going to get the most that you can get.
And
Is there
our
a website?
website, yeah, metamorphosis.training.ca.
Awesome. We'll definitely put this in the show notes. You guys, it's coming up, and this episode is coming out this week. So there's
Excellent.
time to schedule your calls, to feel into if this is right for you. Maybe if you have a dream, follow it. We are very versed in the taking steps and faith. I feel like so many people who listen to this podcast are also been on this journey of, if you feel a pull, if you feel a yes, if you feel like there might be something there for you, like take the risk of just scheduling a call. It is not a marriage proposal. There are no contracts. Like, have a call and find out if this is something that calls to you and if it's something that you feel would serve you and in your life. We went for something unexpected, sexual fantasy. I'm a pleasure priestess. I'm like, oh, we're going to like a dungeon with like feathers. It's going to be great. It was very different, and it got to me to the place exactly where I needed to go, the thing that I wanted through the unexpected door. And spirit is like that for so many of us. So if you're feeling something, trust the unexpected door. You don't have to know what core energetics was. We had no idea.
Literally.
Yeah. So feel into these incredible women and the space that they hold and what it is that they're offering. And yeah.
Yeah, and I just want to give a notable mention to our friend Libby, who's been working with you, Angela, for years. And for me, when Libby does an invitation, it's always sacred. And so Libby was the one who extended that invitation to us. And I was a yes because an invitation came from Libby. And, we got to experience your magic, and it was unlike anything we'd ever done before. So thank you for being the space holders you are. Thank you for the magic that you share in the world, and thank you for sharing with our audience. Like, we really hope that that if you feel called to this, you go and you just discover the love inside and the humanity and how wonderful you are just being you. Because that was a gift that you gave us.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you. Yes, thank you very much.
I loved that conversation. I love them so much.
Yeah.
Like, getting to tap back into that conversation with them, I felt the presence, authenticity, the rawness. I was there all over again. And I just have such a deep appreciation for the medicine they serve that we just were not aware of before going there.
I know. You don't know what you don't know. We don't even know things are available. I didn't know being gay was available until I did.
We didn't know core energetics was a way to tap ourselves until we did.
It was a reminder to me of those kind of deep transformational spaces, like when we were all pole dancing, and literally all of my friends, like there were some who stayed through and through, but like the core of my friends became all the women who I was dancing with at this pole studio because of the depth that we went to, the permission, the authenticity. It was so real and so alive. It was just like, I never want to stop living in this frequency. And doing this work with them, I felt like a whole new opening of being in that kind of space again. And it's just like, to me, the power of retreats, the power of transformational work, the power of facilitators who can really hold the fucking space for you to actually go where you need to go. It was just, so profound.
Beyond.
Well, speaking of retreats, I have a really special, juicy invitation for those who are in the Pacific Northwest, or if you want to drive or fly in, do it. Because my friend Jess and I are hosting a day retreat Saturday, November 8th. It is called Passion Ignited, and we are teaching magic. It's going to be sensual movement, introduction to pleasure magic. It's going to be delicious high vibration food in a nature sanctuary. It's gonna be vibes, and it's at a fucking steal.
It really is.
We are in the space of generosity and in the space of scholarship. So it is just $111. Yeah, you did not hear that right. $111 for you to have a full day of sacred ceremony, of ritual, of high vibration food, of sacred sisterhood, and
and spots are limited.
Spots are limited.
We do still want to keep it beautifully intimate while empowering. I will be there as well.
Yes, you will.
I'll be helping.
Yeah.
I'm helping.
But yeah, if you like these kind of conversations, these kind of spaces, like when people ask us, how did you get invited to that thing? Or where'd you meet? We spend time in these kind of spaces where you actually get to let someone know the truth of who you are and share vulnerably. This is an invitation, a sacred invitation to that kind of space. So if you feel the call, say yes. And with our dear sisters, Angela and Jana, like if you feel the call to what we were talking about, maybe you were just like, I don't even know half of what they were saying, but I just feel something. Or maybe you fall asleep and you have a dream about something. Trust it. Trust it. Schedule a call with them. Their new program, their new module 1 starts in just a few weeks. And this is something that was truly profound for us.
Yeah.
And really supported us in our path. And we're sharing with you. These are practitioners who we have trusted to hold space for us. So when you're on the path, discernment is key. And we love finding the best of the best. You're with the kings, y'all. We go to the best of the best.
We love the best. And if it wasn't so great, we're not going to talk about it.
That's true. There have been things we've been to.
There have been
never been mentioned on this podcast.
There have been not great things. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and, as always, if you have a question, give us a call at 971-895-4111 or slide into our DMs on Instagram at Honest Feedback Podcast. You can write a message in. People have really been liking writing it in.
Yes, they have.
Their voice anonymous.
I know.
And I miss the voice memos. Anyway,
Yes.
until we meet again, be honest with each other.
Bye.